That Skype ringtone is really fun, isn't it? It really is.
Immediate good mood, right? The concept record. What's up, freaks? Welcome back to the Freaks Progcast, presented by the Progspace. I'm one of your hosts, Randy Salo from Freaks, and with me, as always, and finally back in the Moonbase,
Dario from the Progspace and Freaks. Yeah, it's Tuesday today. We're recording a day early. It's March 19th. It's my dad's birthday. I have to call him later.
I think it's May 19th, actually.
What did I say?
March.
Also with an M.
Time stopped when Corona lockdown began.
Yeah, that was March 14 or something. You're right. It's May 19th, of course. And it is the Progcast episode 57. And we have another special guest calling in from all the way from Australia tonight. Today, for him, it's tonight already. He's in the future.
He's in the future. Future man.
Hi, Jim. Jim Gray from Caligula's Horse. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. Good to see you. To see and hear.
To see and hear.
Because the future is now.
Likewise.
And this is the only way that we can communicate right now.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of interviews recently, and it's been really great because it means I get to talk to people for once instead of sort of like shuffling away from them at the shop. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. We're all trapped. Cheers.
Cheers. All right, we're gonna get back to you in a second. First, as always, Randy, what did we talk about last week? We didn't have a guest last week, didn't we?
No, we did not have a guest last week. We went through our top 10s of the 2010s, and
Yes.
We took turns going through what each of us thought were our favorite albums from the 2010s. So that's a cool episode. I think you should check it out.
And it was a lot of fun. Jim, do you have like any albums from the last decade that immediately spring to your mind that stood out? Like
It would help a lot if I could remember most of the last decade. But
Not required.
Things happen. So I'll get back to you by the end of this. Ask me again at the end.
Okay, cool. I'll try to remember that.
I hope you don't.
Yeah.
And you had another What's Hot this week?
I did, and I had Depeche Mode in it again, and I finally found out why they putting those videos out from Sounds of the Universe, the 2009 album, and I found out it's the videos they from back then. They just putting it up on YouTube, but they're so good that I just wanted to include them because they always have like the best video directors and amazing concepts. So this week was for the song Peace. It was a really powerful video. And then I'm not sure, I don't remember if I really complained, on the air publicly here last week that there's so many guitar and bass and drum playthroughs, but not so many vocal sing-throughs coming out these days. And, we had two bands hear my complaint, probably not, but they did it anyway. So it was Courtney from Spirit Box and then Chris from Azure. So we had two really cool sing-throughs in the What's Hot last week. Also, we of course we had because I always put the releases of the week. I put a song of Rise Radiant again in there, and it was the second single, Slow Violence, because it's gonna be released this week, right?
On Friday the 22nd, yes.
Yes, May.
Which is earlier here than you. The 22nd of May, let's be specific.
We're in May. Still in May.
Very nice. We did it.
Yeah, and there was a new Protest the Hero song, new Kansas song, and actually it was there was the very first Sleep Makes Waves song with a lead vocals.
Oh yeah, wow.
Have you heard it, Jim? I'm sure you know.
I haven't heard it yet. No, I know the guys, and I'm really excited about it, but I've been super negligent, and I haven't heard it at all. Sorry, guys. I'll listen today.
All right, that was this week's What's Hot that came out yesterday because it's Tuesday. So the What's Hot list always comes out on Mondays. Yeah, and that brings us to our next section in this episode. What's in your Walkman, Jim?
Interestingly, I was kind of late to the new Hayley Williams Pedals for Armor, like mini EPs she's been releasing. And I listened to the whole album the other day, and it's just awesome. And what that's made me do is go back and listen to a whole stack of Paramore that I really enjoy, which is cool because I've also been introducing my daughter to a whole bunch of like female-fronted music of all different styles. Like she loves Björk now, which is great.
Good starting
but Paramore's
point.
on her favorites list. Yeah, totally. So yeah, we've been digging into that. So I've been really enjoying Pedals for Armor for sure.
Yeah, wicked.
Yeah, cool choice. That was quick.
Maybe you could pick out a song for Dario to add to our playlist for later. You could think about it in the meantime if you want. But we like.
I think Dead Horse. Dead Horse is it? It's got like a fun melodic chorus, and it's kind of upbeat irony in that it's quite sort of dark content sung kind of in a really light way, and it's got those sort of 90s era pop, the influences from like almost Caribbean sounds and stuff. It's really cool.
Cool stuff. What's in your Walkman, Randy?
I have a little something old and a little something new.
Actually, before you go on, I will put back the ones we picked last week.
Yeah.
Again, because last week we had those two. Maybe also for you, Jim, to know. We always put together playlists like that are accompanying the podcast episode.
All the music we talk about.
Yeah, and so last week, as we had those best of the decade, I made two, one for Randy and one for me, and I thought those should be standalone, so we kind of left those what's in our Walkman picks out of those playlists, so I'm going to put them back in.
Yeah.
Yours was... What was the name of the band again?
Forming the Void.
Forming the Void, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's going to be in there.
Sludgy, stoner, metal stuff. Yeah. And this week to something totally different. So two things. One thing old, one thing new. One thing old, which feels somehow relevant, is Arena's Contagion. Jim, I don't know if you know that record, but the neo...
I don't.
Yeah, so the neo-prog band Arena from the UK...
yes.
Doing some really solid neo-prog stuff. I think, neo-prog's not maybe my favorite kind of prog, but I really like the way Arena does their stuff.
Arena mostly is, especially in later, like newer albums, a bit more a heavier approach, like a little bit more guitars than other bands like IQ and stuff.
Yeah.
And Pendragon, all those. So and John Mitchell on guitar is always amazing.
Right. But the keyboardist is also he writes Clive Nolan.
Clive Nolan, yes,
who writes a lot of the music too. Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely like a good share of keyboard stuff, but it has a different feel. You're right. It doesn't.
No proper neo-prog band without swaths of keyboards.
if I would like say there's like one thing different about them than what I think of as neo-prog is it's not so happy. You know what I mean? It's not so like upbeat. It's a little bit darker. I find like a little darker content. So anyway, taste is taste. But anyway, there's an album called Contagion, and it's a concept record about pandemics, I guess, which is really great. And I would include the song Cutting the Cards, which is one of the last songs. And then something new is I have to give a shout out to Protest the Hero, the new single From the Sky from the new album that's coming out in June is just killer. Yeah. So that's going to be my new pick. Dario, what's in your Walkman?
Yes, I don't have any new picks because I've been listening to the new Vulcan album the whole week, more or less. So, and that was one of my two picks last week already. So last week I put our picks as embedded YouTube videos on the articles on our websites. This week we can include them in the playlist. So I'm gonna put the funny thing about Vulcan, this Swedish band. I think it's their third album, and the drummer is the same drummer. He also plays for Diablo Swing Orchestra. And funny thing is that like two other friends of mine, we came up like in this in a couple of days. We individually we developed like a super addiction to the song "Blinding Ornaments," and I found out, hey, this guy is addicted to this song as well, and this guy as well. So I have the feeling, yeah, there's really something going on there with that album and that song. So this time I will put "Blinding Ornaments" into the playlist, and the other one was the Dutch guitar guy called Haken Ersemerci with his debut solo EP that was like, yeah, instrumental guitar, a little bit genty, a little bit like Death, the band influence.
Oh wow,
yeah. So I'm gonna put these two again.
Yeah, cool.
And that brings us to this week's main topic, which is
the main event,
the new Caligula's Horse album, Rise Radiant. Now you guys been around for a couple of years already, but I guess there still might be some people who have not heard about you, or maybe they're not familiar about your history. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the beginnings of the band and what you've been up to this past decade, even though you don't remember it.
Well, I probably know most of what I've been up to, but if you ask the other guys in the band, they'll tell you I don't. We started around in 2011, so we've been around for about 9 years now. Sam and I put together, Sam Vallon, our guitarist, he put together a solo record, which was like a side project for his band at the time. Just a little creative outlet for him, and he asked me to come in and do some guest vocals on one song. And I thought to myself that didn't sound like too much of a commitment, so yeah, not a problem. And now I'm here talking to you guys, and I don't know what happened in between. No, so we've released four records, and this will be our fifth. Most recently, the last two albums of ours, Bloom and In Contact, have been through Inside Out Music, and it was basically on Bloom, our third album, that we kind of developed more of a worldwide fan base, such as it is, and started touring the world and stuff. So yeah, really excited for Rise Radiant now, because it gives me something to do, which is the most important thing, I think.
And Inside Out, when they picked you guys up, they also re-released the first two albums, Moments from Ephemeral City and The Tide, the Thief, and River's End. Right? So staying for a moment in the history of Caligula's Horse, I started like the Caligula's Horse week to do like every night, chronologically the album. So last night I listened to the Moments with friends on Discord, like every night, and it was. It definitely felt like it's been a long time that I've been listening to this, so I kind of forgot a lot of stuff that's happening, and we were like, damn, wow, there's so many guitar solos on this album.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the original idea, I think, was to get, for each of the songs that had vocals. I know that I think Singularity is the only tune that's an instrumental. It's been a long time since I've listened to the album.
I think there's two instrumentals.
But every song was going to have a different guest vocalist, and I was going to come in on, I think it was either Alone in the World or Equally Flawed, one of those. And, Sam and I just sort of ended up collaborating on the rest of it, and we ended up writing The City Has No Empathy, which was the single from the album. We wrote that one together. And again, each step of the way, that was sort of like, this is fun, this is easy, oh my God, okay. And then we just kept going. We sort of did it together.
It just happened.
If I did a different voice, that would sound very different. It'd be like, this is fun, oh my God. Yeah, and so that's pretty much exactly what happened. We were a pair of Valley girls, and now we're here.
Do you have any favorite songs from that album still? I mean, you play City Has No Empathy still, and you still have that one in your live set, right? Or you had like a couple of years ago?
We did. Yeah, we haven't played it in a long time. There's very little from that. Like we'll revisit stuff like Alone in the World periodically, but it's always like a revisit of a sort of thing. Because again, that's like 11 years back in our career, and we felt like we've grown so much since then. And our fan base has come in at different albums throughout our career. So there's a lot of people came in at Bloom, a lot of people came in Contact, and even more now. So it's like when you delve that far back in the back catalog, it's it's for the diehards, it's for the OG fans, but it's few and far between. The regulars are pretty much from that point on.
Apart from that, it feels like revisiting this album from time to time for live sets. Do you have a favorite for yourself, like from this album, like I could put in the playlist,
I think the city has no empathy.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff in that I don't like personally agree with anymore. I mean, it's a very angry song, right? And I was younger, and I was way more furious. And it has some sentiments in there that I probably wouldn't be voicing artistically now. I don't need to voice artistically now. But it has a really warm sort of place for me because it was the first collaboration with Sam. It was the first time that we kind of threw ideas back and forth and got like really excited about what was coming out. So yeah, it's a beautiful memory for me, that one. Fair
enough. Before we move on, back then you were still singing with Arcane, right? Or was that already? No, that was not done. I remember when this album came out, I was like, oh, there's some guitarist solo album, and it has the Arcane vocalist singing on it, and I didn't think too much of it, or I didn't really check it out. I don't know. I was, still convinced that Arcane would be the band making it big internationally. But yeah,
there you go. It's interesting. Arcane didn't really end until like equivalent with the release of Bloom, like basically right on the release of Bloom, I think was the moment that Arcane kind of came to an end. Yeah.
But before Bloom, there was The Tide, The Thief, and Rivers End. Do you have any favorite songs from the album?
Yeah, I mean, we always play Dark Hair Down. That one is it's in the set list. It's a fan favorite. It's one of our favorites to play. I think it's one of the strongest songs on the album. I do have a soft spot for All Is Quiet by The Wall and also Thief. So you can pick out of those three. I'm not going to keep listing songs from the album and make it more difficult for you. But
before we close the Tide, Thief, and Rivers End chapter, I just need to tell you the story. When we met at B-Prog, my friend, in Barcelona, I'm not sure if I was there 2 years. I'm not sure if it was the year where you played or if it was the other year. But 1 year they always played Water's Edge in the changeover breaks, and that kind of made me fall in love with that song in particular.
Oh, nice! See, that's awesome.
And I also remember.
I love it when there's like a connection between stuff. Yeah. When there's like a memory associated with a song, and it's like, oh man, that's sweet. I like that.
And I also talked with Mariana from I Am the Morning about it, and she also loves it. Yeah.
She's a good egg.
Yeah, she's very sweet. And she's also been doing some live streams. We had a few connection problems, and we were talking about live streams. You said if there's a connection. I just remembered I forgot to mention something from the What's Hot, and that was a little bit of a shameless self-plug here. Not that I have any album out or anything, but I'm working with my good friend Lucas De La Rosa, and I've been doing some work promoting their new EP or their solo debut EP. Sunlight Highlights, and on this week's What's Hot, I put a little drum cover by a young guy not too far from you, I think. His name is Liam Bradford, and I know Josh, the Caligula's drummer, knows him. He's 13, and he did like in the matter of 1 week, he played the most insane programmed drums that Lucas did on the EP. So you definitely should check out that video.
Yeah, what a legend, man! That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah,
there's been a couple of times. This might be the same kid where in Australia, his mom like contacts us before the show and like contacts the venue and have to get someone underage in, and he's always like up on a balcony like loving every second of it and comes and meets us after the show. That's awesome. I love it. I wish there were more all ages kind of shows in Australia, but it's hard with our kind of pub music scene, you know?
Yeah. Well, in Germany, it's weirdly not that much of a thing, because you can always bring your kids, or if you're not going with the parent, you can like put in a guardian, like you can, the parents can sign like a something that they have a trusted adult with the kid.
Yeah. I'm guessing the liquor laws are maybe more strict in Australia than here in Germany.
Yeah, maybe I mean you can start drinking beer at 16.
Yeah. So
16?
Yes.
I mean, we all did. It just wasn't legal. That's it's fine.
All right.
Or is it? I don't know.
Moving on to Bloom. That was, as you said, the kind of breakthrough record, and I also, for me, was like this, the moment Marigold, the single dropped. Before I really didn't check out Moments or Tide and Thief and whatnot thoroughly, but the moment Marigold single dropped, I was just blown away, and I think it must have felt the same for you, suddenly getting attention from all over the world, or more, even more, so much more attention than before from all over the world, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was super crazy because we'd had, up until that point, it was only sort of underground channels, if you will.
Yeah.
It was like real diehards, people that actively seek out prog music and go like, all right, who's that? Who's this? Who's this band no one knows about? I'm listening to that and I'm doing it today. Probably what you guys do, if I'm being honest. And after that, it was after that, like after Bloom and, with Inside Out's platform and all of a sudden having an album that really appealed to a lot more people, it seemed, things jumped in a way that seemed insane at the time. I mean, I was literally at a point where I had a conversation with my wife. We were about to have a kid, and I was still studying full time, and all of these bands were just sort of like eating my life, but I wasn't really seeing anything happen with it, and I was unhappy. And I was sort of had this conversation with her where I went like, okay, maybe we step down a little bit. We just tone it down with the bands. We take a step down, and I'll just do it as a hobby, and that's great. And then Bloom happened, and I yet again I found myself having lied to my wife. So that was the end of Arcade. That was the thing that happened there. But it was pretty crazy, and it's only got crazier since then over the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, you also had the first European tour then with Shining. I remember that, right? That was the first time in Europe with the band, right? Or am I mistaken there?
Yeah, it was. We'd never done a bus tour before that, because that's sort of not a done thing in Australia because the distances are insane. Yeah. So it's like when you first start out and you're kind of a nothing band and you're a bunch of dickheads, you get like a hire van. I mean, we're still a bunch of dickheads, but like
But now you have a bus.
Bunch of dickheads with no fans. Yeah, that's right. And suck it. So yeah, we get, you get a van and you drive to Sydney from Brisbane, and that's like the closest city you're going to be playing, doing the Metropolitan stuff, and that's like 12, 14 hours drive.
Yeah.
And now we fly because we're too old for that now. But like going to Europe the first time was fascinating for us because all of these shows were just like back to back to back. We'd never done more than like 5 shows in a row. You just don't do it in Australia. So it was a real kind of trial by fire for us to find out, like, can we even do this? Are we actually able to? And it turns out we could. So that was a relief.
And if you're good, you can drive to almost to Sweden in 12 hours from here. Yeah, and we were very in the south of Germany.
Right. Yeah, true. I mean, that's the amazing thing, you know, and the thing for us as well. And like, if you haven't traveled very much, and at the time I hadn't, I'd only been to like a 1 or 2 countries outside of Australia. And obviously since then it's been, like I said, insane. But at that time, not knowing what it's like, I mean, you can go that 12 to 14 hour drive or fly all the way to Perth, you know, it's just like 6 hours on a plane or something, and be talking to the people with roughly the same accent and, you know, the same culture and whatever else. It's just if you go to Sydney, everyone's a bit mean. That's pretty much it. Like, whereas in Europe, we'd get off the bus after like 5 hours and everyone's speaking a different language, dressing differently. There might be a different currency and some people are rude and some people are not. It's very confusing. So that was an eye-opener for us.
Amazing. Yeah, your favorite from Bloom?
Good question. I'm going to go with either Daughter of the Mountain, because I'm not going to settle on one. You're going to have to get used to this. I'm going to have to go with either Daughter of the Mountain or Undergrowth, probably. Undergrowth, because it's a very sweet song. We don't get to play it very live, and I have a really nice emotional attachment to it. And Daughter of the Mountain, because it's really fun live. It's a very different kind of song for us, and it's a fun journey to take with an audience, for sure.
So before we jump into everything, Rise Radiant, there was one album before that still, and that was In Contact. Anything changed for that? Well, you had some lineup changes, actually, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, before In Contact, Josh had joined the band sort of at the very beginning of the writing process for In Contact. I think we had 1 or 2 songs completed for that. And Adrian joined like basically right before, like on I think the last tour before the album's release. But again, if you're asking about history, you're asking the wrong guy. What you should do is you should back-to-back this with like an interview with Sam. Just see how our stories match up. Because I guarantee you, he's right about it. Cross-reference everything I say with Sam's memory.
That could be fun. But
yeah, having the 2 dudes join the band was awesome. Like Josh was just, it was like a ray of sunshine in the band. It was like a real sort of breath of fresh air musically and just like in terms of the band meshing. And I had never felt safer on stage, really, is how I would describe it when Josh joined the band. I'd never felt more comfortable with the people behind me. You know, it was really, really cool. And we actually, his first show with us was actually a hometown show in Brisbane, and we made him play Graves before the album had come out. And so he's playing this, you know, packed hometown crowd, and it's just like, hey, man, boom, deep end, let's go. He naturally, he went well because he's a monster. But yeah, and then it was straight into In Contact, yeah.
You already mentioned Grave, the big one. Ain't nobody got time for that. No,
I hate that has become a viral Seahorse thing. That's me talking shit on stage.
I always make time for that because I'm an album guy, so I like to listen to complete albums.
Yeah, totally. You're in the right genre then. I think that's.
I hope so.
Totally.
Hopefully that still exists. Yeah.
But still, if we put all the complete albums in the playlist, it's gonna be endless. So you can pick Graves for the playlist if you want. I just want to put that out there.
I would,
but you can also play.
I'd love to.
Or the Cannon's Mouth.
I think it's. The Cannon's Mouth. You know what I should do is just mess with your playlist and just say Inertia on its own, nothing else. So you just get the Tell 'em Inc. sent you and then just into whatever's next. I'm going to say Dream the Dead.
All right.
That one's special. I think you know I love it as much as Graves. Those 2 I sort of hold up as my personal faves. I think from the album, and like it again, it's a memory based one for me. When we did our In Contact tour of Europe with all the Aussie guys from Circles and I Built the Sky, every single night we'd be opening with Dream the Dead. It's, you know, kick open the door, g'day, here's the show. And so I have just beautiful variety of memories of people and different locations and stuff with that. So yeah, Dream the Dead for sure.
Yeah, that must have been the last time we saw each other and at Prog Power.
That's right.
Yeah, 1.5 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were you in the were you in the circle hug pit?
Yeah.
Because I've never seen that before.
Yeah, of course. Of course, that's me.
I feel like we're like the only prog band out there that can have a circle pit that's all hugs. I can't think of another one.
Actually,
I don't know, maybe Agent Fresco.
You know the band that started it was Major Parkinson. Like, not the band, but it started the first time during the Major Parkinson show, and that was right before you guys, right? Or was it the day before?
I don't know. I was out of my mind with jet lag.
But no, honestly, that was an amazing show, and yeah. Hope you guys will be back in the future, but now you are already in the future, as we established.
Future, yeah. I'd love to come back. I love that show. I love the vibe in the room. It's kind of exactly what the kind of the musical conversation that I'm looking for. You know, it's like I sort of pride myself in trying to put positive stuff out in the world now, you know, musically speaking, and in terms of what we say on stage and how we are as people, and I got that back, you know, from the Prog Power crowd. It wasn't just us kind of like doing our thing. There was a real conversation going on. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's I think that leads us to the moment everybody's waiting for, because they are eager to know stuff about what Rise Radiant is about and how it came together and everything. You got a new band member as well in the meantime on the bass, and I have the feeling from what I've seen that he's become pretty like a important band member as well. From what I've seen from afar.
Yeah, no, of course, it's. I can't wait for you guys to see Dale play, because at the same time as being a super sort of naturally humble and self-critical guy, always trying to look to do more and do better, and to really exceed expectations with Seahorse. He's also a freaking rock star on stage. I love watching him. It's funny. I'll you know, we were in Chile and we're up on this big stage playing for all these people, and I'm like close to crying because it's this beautiful experience. You know me. And I look over to the left of me, and you know, I'm ignoring Sam. I'm sick of watching Sam play. You know this. And I look over in the far corner of the stage, and there's Dale just going for it. I'm just like, man, God, I love this dude. Interestingly, though, Dale is like, has been in the project from day one, you know, in one way or another. Sam and he were studying together at university, and a lot of the first records were recorded at the university studios where they were studying. And so he was helping to engineer, and he was, you know, part of our crew, and he was always at the shows. We played shows with some of his former bands early in the days. And so, you know, basically since 2011, we've known the guy. He came and did lights for us on that same tour of Europe that we were talking about. So he was on the tour bus with us that whole time.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like adding him to the ensemble was like a untested kind of how do we know if we're going to get on with this guy in, you know, extreme circumstances kind of thing. It was well and truly mates at that time. So it just so happens that he's also a like magical musical fit, and his performance on the album is like awesome. I was really happy.
Yeah, there's even a kind of bass solo.
Yeah, there's a bass solo.
That was surprising.
In Autumn.
Are we saying solo? I'm gonna say lead line. I'm not gonna give him the credit of a solo. All of my vocal parts are vocal solos. You can call that now. That's official. I just want one. That's all. But no, that part was amazing. It was actually because again he was really nervous. I mean, full disclosure, it's like he while he's been involved the whole time, you know, he's always been a Seahorse fan as well. Like he loves what we do, and that's part of why he's been such a cool addition to the group, is because, you know, he's treating it like something that he loves, just like we do. So watching him prepare for tracking, for, you know, the first time he's going to put his, you know, fingerprint on a Seahorse record, was amazing, because he was super intimidated by some of these parts and really went for it, and he just absolutely crushed it. I'm sure you can hear that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
off the air before we started rolling the sound, we already talked about that I had watched the little video you guys put out on the Inside Out channel explaining a little bit the theme of the album, and there you said that it was like you tried to a completely different approach compared to In Contact, but then it ended up kind of getting an overall theme again without you actually aiming for it. Can you explain it for us again a little bit? What happened with your intentions to make every song individual, but then somehow you ended up with an overarching theme, kind of.
I think this is a symptom of this album being particularly honest. I mean, it's us kind of expressing directly our frustrations. And I'm sure you would have seen that in our chats in the video as well. Like, trying to go straight from us to the music to you, as the listener, and you can interpret that how you like. But as a result, these are things that we care about. And so there are going to be consistencies throughout the album. Personally, I still think that the songs themselves have their own musical voice.
They do.
And each of them kind of has a topic that it broaches and stuff like that. But some of the overarching themes are really basically what the title suggests. And that is that, despite adversity and despite resistance, or despite where you're at, or whatever you've suffered, that you can stand up, you can rise and you can excel, you can achieve, you can survive. And that's particularly appropriate now, I should think. And to be honest, it's actually something that I need right now. Today is a tough day for me. I got to tell you. So it's important when people are stuck like this.
Yeah. But I feel like musically, I think Caligula's Horse always had that uplifting quality to their music. Like, that's not something completely new. You just kind of fully embraced it and made it like an outspoken thing, like, or made it the thing.
Yeah, I think the difference mainly is just the removal of like character-based storytelling or concept, and sort of relying more on a theme rather than a concept. Because I feel like while I'm extremely proud of In Contact and River's End and all of the concept stuff that we've done, I feel like, I need to take a moment to change up what I'm doing so I don't fall into habits and communicate emotionally directly from myself from time to time. And it's kind of daunting to do that, particularly with stuff like Salt or Resonate, these things that are coming very personally from me about my experience with, mental health and seeking help and overcoming things, starting a course of medication. All of this stuff is tied in with Salt and Resonate. And that makes me feel a bit naked, it makes me feel pretty exposed. And I think it's important to do that artistically, because that means that I'm remaining honest, but it is kind of a spooky thing for me to think that people are going to be listening to that on Friday and making their own judgments about it,
Yeah, I have the feeling so we had 3 singles that was started with, help me with the names, I forgot them already. Of course, The Tempest was the first.
Valkyrie.
And then Slow Violence with the video made by Adrian, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And then Valkyrie. And I have the feeling, well, I love the first 2 singles particularly, and then I got the promo, so I knew the song Valkyrie before it also was released as a single. But I have the feeling for the listeners that are gonna listen to the album for the first time on Friday, they're with Salt and the final couple, Autumn and the Ascent, there's like 2 seahorse at its finest hours waiting for them. Yeah,
thank you, that's really nice.
I think Salt is together with Water's Edge and Bloom, maybe, it's definitely in my top 5 ever Seahorse songs. and that like
wow, that's awesome.
Autumn and the Ascent, that like the segue from one into another almost rivals Bloom into Marigold.
No, I hear you. It's funny though. It's kind of like it's very similar to Bloom and Marigold in a sense, in that the two songs aren't like part one and part two. You know what I mean? You could play each of them separately, right? But they do tie together really nicely thematically. I mean, we were talking again in the Inside Out video about some of the themes, and that's where the legacy theme and the kind of parenthood theme and all of these things that we were discussing, that's where those two songs really come in, and two kind of different perspectives on, starting to think about legacy, whether it's personal and then on a broader scale, pulling back and having a look at legacy in a sense of humanity and how that affects us personally as well.
Wow. I just pulled up here the Prog Archives page for Rise Radiant, and it brought to my attention again, or brought my memory back, that there's going to be bonus track covers that we didn't hear in the promo version. So that's going to be interesting for us, especially of course, the Peter Gabriel cover. I don't know the other song, I think. It doesn't ring a bell, but...
Yeah, it's from a New Zealand group, Split Ends, who ended up, Neil and Tim Finn, who were the brothers, sort of co-writers for that, ended up creating Crowded House as well. Okay. And Australia kind of adopted them and said they were ours. We're just like, no, the Finn brothers are ours now. We tend to do that with people. I think we did that with Russell Crowe as well. I don't know, man. Anyway, so Split Ends are awesome. And Message to My Girl has one of my favorite choruses of all time. I think it's just beautifully written, and it's a real masterwork of pop music. And Sam and I both love it. In fact, the whole band love it, and it's one of my parents' favorite songs. So yeah, the Peter Gabriel one's one that I've like. It's a no-brainer. If you ask me if I wanted to do a cover, I'd probably throw that one in the mix. And of course, Lindsay Ward from Exploring Birdsong coming in to perform the Kate Bush parts was just amazing to listen to. She when we got her performance back, just listening to the unmixed demo of the thing, and I got to the end of it and I had a tear in my eye. It was amazing. So I think you guys are really going to get a kick out of that.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, and it also like ties in to the theme we've been talking about.
It does. It does. Coincidentally,
it kind of sums it all up. Really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, not just with the pandemic, like, because we were recording the album, obviously, well and truly before everything kicked off with that, because this is sort of towards the end of last year. And coincidentally, we were recording the vocals right at the same time as the massive bushfires in Australia. And it was like this bizarre moment where I came to record Don't Give Up, and I was singing the second verse, and it only just occurred to me how applicable it was by sheer accident, referring to, returning to the home that you came from and the trees were burned down to the ground. And I had this moment in the studio just then recording that track going like, holy shit, man. It was a real moment in time for me. But yeah, I think it's a very applicable song for now, for sure.
Art begets life.
Yeah, obviously we don't know what the future holds at this point, but we can still talk a little bit about what we can do of it, or what we can try to do. And I mean, a lot of bands have been starting to do live streams and stuff. Is there any plans or thoughts about that doing from your side as well?
We haven't actually talked about that in terms of like a live stream performance kind of deal. I mean, in terms of Australian touring, it's entirely possible that before the end of the year we'll be off the hook, because we're doing pretty well over here, particularly in the state that we live in. There's like it's going really well. So we're not like at New Zealand's perfection yet, but let's adopt that and take it, and we'll call it Australian. We'll do the Split Ends thing again, the Crowded House. That's ours now. But yeah, in terms of international touring and stuff like that, it might be a good idea going forward. I know that the guys have some stuff planned for guitar playthroughs and things like that to put out there. But yeah, nothing in terms of like a live stream concert. No, we haven't really locked that in.
What about a sing through, huh?
A sing through, yeah. You see, you say that. I'm not going to rule it out. I think the hardest part of that is that I suck. I think that's going to be the biggest roadblock between me and that happening. No, but it's on the list too. I'd be very keen to give some of these a crack. I think the Ascent would be an absolute monster to do, but it'd be really fun for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
There's also like there's different models of how to approach the live streaming thing. I mean, there's been bands that have been doing like real live concerts, like Shining did, like at the very beginning in the studio of Siemens Sandnes, and Enslaved did one with
part of a larger festival.
Yeah, and just last week, Oranzi Pazuzu from Finland.
And Catatonia the week before.
Catatonia as well. But the other way. This is the way. There's not only one way. The other style would be more like have you seen the Tesseract one? Tesseract did like live in the lockdown or something. That was also
between their Zoom chat.
Yeah, they all recorded. They all recorded at home and in different countries, and it worked out amazingly as well. Yep. And there's different ways to approach this, which is also cool.
Roger Waters just did Mother from the Wall with his band, also in the same way that Tesseract did. So the multiple instruments in different places. That was pretty cool. You should check this out if you like the song Mother, of course, from Roger Waters, Pink Floyd.
I saw the video thumbnail somewhere, and I was like, why is someone sharing that song now? I mean, it's old. I didn't read the subtitle or whatever.
It's a little bit funny. You have to watch till the end though, because like everybody like clicks off their camera and Roger doesn't, and he's just still sitting there. He's like, and I think there must be somebody in the control booth because he's in his studio and they're talking. He's like, I'm not turning off the damn camera. I'm like, I'm going to sit here and talk. And then he like just starts. I think he's looking for his dog or something. It's a little bit bizarre.
I was just saying, hopefully he doesn't start like a political rant or something.
I was waiting for that. I stayed till the end. I was like, all right, let's hear it.
Like he just like reels you in with a song and a really good performance. In the end, it's like, guess what, guys? It's time for my manifesto. Yeah. You ready?
Well, Mother, should I trust the government? I mean, I was waiting for the big speech at the end.
True that. Oh man, it's been so long that I've listened to some Pink Floyd properly. Yeah, great. I'm super excited about the release on Friday. Probably not as much excited as you because it's not my own songs, but I'm super excited for you guys. I'm
glad.
And I'm also I'm super excited to see the reception. And I'm going to tell you how the listening parties went.
It's something that we want to kind of encourage, actually. I'm going to be doing some, because Dale and I run all the social stuff at the moment, and I want to kind of encourage people to do a listening party, even if it's a digital one, and like share it with us on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Just like, show us that you're listening to the album and whether you're enjoying it. Just like a whole bunch of people sitting around looking angry and taking notes. I don't care. It'll be fun. So if you guys are doing it, go for it.
I mean, I would say against that, I think what I think the album is, and we talked about that already before, but I think for this whole Corona time, it is like a spot of hope and like inspiration, the album, and musically, and the uplifting spirit of it, I think, is coming at a time when we need it, as you said. So,
I hope so. It's a strange coincidence that I wish didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It's really appropriate for now, and I really wish it wasn't.
Same with the Haken guys, right?
No, absolutely. I saw that. I was like, really? But then obviously Ross cleared that up for us and going like, oh, of course it was named beforehand. But man, it's just bizarre. It's just strange, isn't it? Such a weird coincidence.
And actually, yes.
But Canary Yellow is amazing, by the way. That's actually one that I've been spinning if you want to add that to the list. But Canary Yellow really did it for me. That was like,
amazing video too.
I wanted to ask you actually. Have you did you get an advanced copy from Inside Out? Have you listened to Virus?
No. Okay. No, I'm not special. But I am hanging out for it very much. Like I love those dudes. I think they're amazing, and again, if Canary Yellow is anything to show for it, like that it just pushed all of my individual buttons. It was just this really kind of reserved emotion that put you in this really kind of, I don't know, scared place somehow. That just held back.
Have you watched the video? What did you think of the video? If you've seen
I have.
It was
super effective.
For me, actually, I have listened. I listened to it in the album context before from my promo copy, and it didn't click with me in that like at first. But when I watched the video, it was like, boom! Holy shit! I was really blown away because like the impact was so strong suddenly.
It's almost like. You have to kind of know what it is that they're going for emotionally. You know, it's like it's one of those songs of theirs that isn't, you know, about their like amazing technicality and incredible performance and stuff like this. This one is just pure mood, and when you watch, it really like enhances that, and I love it.
Absolutely. Did you know that there's gonna be a song on the album called Marigold?
Is there really?
Yeah.
They're better. Well, Periphery did one. We did one. Why not? That's fine by me. As long as it's not a cover. If it's a cover, actually, no, I'm very excited to hear that. I would listen to that any day of the week.
It actually has a part that sounds very much like Seahorse.
Oh, right. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Curious
the line goes, "Careful what you wish for, Marigold." It's like
interesting.
I can't wait for you to hear it.
That's better. No, that's good. I like it. Let's all have a crack. I mean, there's like about a dozen songs coming out right now called The Tempest, as it turns out. No one told me. But, you know, like Tool did it. I think the difference between us and Tool is that we don't put letters where numbers should be and vice versa.
You can spell.
Yeah.
So this episode is gonna drop on Thursday as always, one day before the release. That means when this episode drops, I only have the 3 singles available to share in the playlist. So which one would you choose?
Slow Violence.
I think. Yeah.
I like that one. By the way, my last 10 years album has been ticking away in the back of my noggin this whole time. And I think it's hard, but I am going to go with Destria by Agent Fresco.
Oh, wow. It was on my list as well.
Damn it! Well, partly because it's incredible on its own, and I can always go back and re-listen to it. That's not something that I go like that's from a certain era or that's something that I'm tired of hearing. It's always got something fresh for me, and I have to say that it was hugely influential on me in terms of writing and vocal approach because like I've always had this kind of falsetto area of my voice, and it's something that I've always really enjoyed, but I didn't necessarily have the confidence as a songwriter to put it into place on a record. And I think listening to Arno's performance on that really just kind of opened that possibility for me. So it was hugely influential. And so, yeah, that's my choice.
Wow,
there it
amazing.
is. Record.
When we talked about it last week, I said that it was probably from the 10 albums I chose the hardest to pick a song because it is the one album that feels like it belongs together as an entirety.
Like a seamless kind of journey.
Yeah.
I love every track on that, I have to say. I mean, like, obviously the singles like Sea Hell and Dark Water are amazing, but I got such a soft spot for Bemoan as well, you know. I'm just going to list all the songs on the album.
Just put them all on the playlist.
I last week I put The Autumn Red on the playlist because, I mean, I've seen the guys a lot of times with that album because there's no new album yet. So it was always quite Destry heavy, the set list, and they, I think, always ended with The Autumn Red, and which was always pretty powerful, and Arno came.
That outro. Awesome.
Arno came down into the audience and stuff. So and it is the longest song on the album. So I thought that would be fitting for the playlist. But I'm gonna put Bemoan this time for you. Beautiful. And I think that brings us to the end of this show. That was really cool talking to you.
Yeah, great deep dive too, Dario, that you brought out of this interview. I don't know if Jim was expecting that. But,
actually, I had trouble.
That's fine. I just like talking to people, and I get bored, and this is nice. So thank you.
I actually had trouble. Like I couldn't access my notes somehow because there's something wrong with my computer. So I kind of just made that up on the go, and I'm happy that it went.
Yeah, it was nice to hear your perspective on the records, Jim.
That was like some Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master level improv there. I'm stoked about that. That's awesome.
So you must not be in Dario's. You must not be in Dario's campaign then.
You are a DM.
No, never done
but
it.
He should be now.
Oh, damn it!
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely should be. You got the goods right there.
Okay.
Evidence today.
Great. Jim, thanks so much for taking the time with us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys. Great chat.
Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to check out the Spotify playlist. And we have also a lot of other cool episodes. And subscribe and give us a like and all of that.
Review the show.
Share
it with
all
your
of
friends.
that. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. Listen to Prog and
Freaks out. The Freaks Progcast, presented by the Progspace, is a production of Stuus Media and is recorded at the Moonbase Studios in Munich. The show is produced by Janine Stangl, Blake Lewis, Kai Metzner, Dario Albrecht, and myself, Randy M. Salo. Our theme music is provided by This Is Not an Elephant. Thanks for tuning in, Freaks. See you next time. Freaks out.